Ciao a tutti, grazie per essere venuti. I heard a lot of people like speaking in English, so I think I'll try to speak in English. I don't know if I will manage to do that. What you don't understand, just ask me during the presentation. I don't like to have like this kind of monologue. It's better if we have a discussion, okay? Let's do like we are in a bar and we're speaking about something. I'm trying to, today, to speak you about security attacks in general, who is attacking who, and a research, and particularly a very long research, like 3 years research, on massive data. Why massive data? My name is Davide del Vecchio. I'm working for an internet service provider, well known here in Italy. It's called Fastweb. It's one of the main internet service provider. In particular, I'm managing the team of people who is providing security services to the customer. Okay? I'm speaking about not just domestic customer, but big customer, like banks, government, financial institution, etc. Fastweb, something like 7 years ago, won a very, very big RFP, una gara, un bando di gara. What does it mean? It means that something like 70% of the public government is connected with Fastweb, okay? What did I do during these last 3 years? I tried to collect and manage, analyze all the data about all the attacks and all the incidents that we saw on the Fastweb network. When I'm speaking about the Fastweb network, I'm not speaking about all the attacks just to Fastweb as a company, but to all the companies and customers that have a line with Fastweb. So you can imagine, we're speaking about something like millions, if I well remember, something like 4 millions of public IP addresses. Behind one public IP address, there could be 1,000 of computers, 1,000 of servers. Okay? Why am I doing this? First, because I'm a data fetishist, okay? I get excited when I see statistics. I know, it's my fault, but I'm kind of joking. But I think that if you want to understand a movement, what is happening, you need to measure what is happening. You need to understand how many attacks, who is attacking who, etc. So the basic is to measure what is happening. Information security and security in general, it's one of my main passion, okay? I can talk for hours about this, if you want, after this hour. We can speak about it, or we can speak about travels. I'm very passionate about my travels. One of my goals in my life is to see every country in the world. I'm now currently at 64 countries, but I keep going. How am I doing this? We have a giant, we started with Excel, okay? During the first year collecting information, we started collecting all this information in Excel. During the second year, we added more tools, more features to our, we get always more events, more incidents, etc. Excel started crashing. That was not enough anymore. So we are doing that with some SQL database, trying to correlate the information, trying to understand and give to every incident information. How many events are we talking about? During the analysis that I made during 2014, so on the data of 2013, we had something like 172,000 events, which were a lot, but I was still able to manage them with Excel. Okay? During the 2014, we had something like 5 million events. And during the 2015, more than 8 million events. Of course, during the 2013, there were less events, but also our tools were not so sophisticated, okay? So we made a big jump between the first and the second year. The security incidents we had in the last year. Almost the 98% of the attacks, and when I'm speaking about attacks here is a misconception. I use the wrong word because we are speaking about incidents. I'm not speaking about someone who just received a malware. I'm speaking about someone who has been attacked and compromised by a malware. Okay? Someone who is sending spam, not someone who is receiving spam, because if we are speaking about someone who is receiving spam, it's not, there is no SQL who can manage this kind of data. Okay? So 98% of attacks, almost 99, are malware. Then there is a percentage of around 1.5 that are defacement, and that are DDoS attacks. I will explain what they are and what we are talking about. And a very few percentage, less than 1%, less than 0.5%, it's about defacement. Why am I explaining, and why are these data so important? Because people who is defending their network, companies, people who is in general concerned about the attacks, mainly since there are no data around the world about the attacks, they are investing their money and concerning and thinking about their problems, basing their thoughts on articles. Okay? I'm sure most of the journalists try to do their best. Okay? But what the journalists say about an attack is what they understood of what the company said. You understand that it's a double layer of misconception. Okay? There is a company who choose what to say, and then there is a journalist who try to understand what they choose to say, okay? And then there is people in the government, people in the politics, people in the big company, in the banks, etc., that are reading the articles on the big newspaper, Repubblica.it, Corriere.it, etc., and they are deciding, and they are basing their fears and their decision on these articles. I don't think it's the best way to do it, no? So that's why I did this, to have the biggest data, at least in Italy, possible about the attacks, and trying to give information about what is really happening. So, if you see this slide, which probably is the most important slide, most of the people will say, okay, so I'm sure I'm safe with an antivirus. No? It's 98% of attacks. It's malware, it's virus, so I'm safe with antivirus. This is obviously not totally true, because when we are speaking about malware, we are speaking about techniques of attack that have been automated, okay? If you think about the cyber criminal, like someone who is sitting behind his desk with the classic, how to say, the sweater, or a very bad guy with, I don't know, colored hair or these kind of things, that's absolutely not true. Or almost not true anymore. There was a time in which most of the hackers, not cyber criminals, but hackers, they were trying to hack into computer, into servers, etc., to try to learn how to do the things. They were not stealing the data. They were trying to hack into server just to understand how it was working. People was breaking into strange server with extremely strange and exotic operating system just because they were not able to buy these servers at home. Okay? They were breaking into just to use them, just to learn how to do that. Other people was just trying to have an intellectual challenge. Okay? They were saying something like, oh, come on, I break into NASA. No? It's incredible, no? It's what every friend of mine is asking to me. Okay, the first question is, are you a hacker? I'm always like, hacker is blah, blah, blah. And after 30 seconds, he's saying, oh, come on, I was joking. Okay. And the second question is, did you break into NASA? Well, so this is no more, it exists, but it's an extremely low percentage of people who is doing bad stuff on internet. People who is doing bad stuff on internet is automating a lot of attacks. People who is attacking on internet is the real mafia. I'm speaking about organized crime in Russia, in Italy, etc., etc. They are investing money, okay? Part of the money they are investing into, I don't know, human traffic, part into drugs, and partially also into cybercrime, okay? It's a business, and it's a business that there is an evaluation who said that in 2013, so 3 years ago, the volume of the money in the cybercrime was more than the volume of the money of the drug in the world, okay? So it's really something incredibly scary, incredibly big, and the most incredible thing is that it's a kind of absolute safe crime. It's extremely difficult to be caught, okay? It's extremely difficult. And especially if you try not to be the best in the class, okay? You don't have to be like the best spammer in the world, okay? It's okay to be the third, okay? You will make a lot of money and not be caught, okay? You will never be on the spotlight. So, we saw 98% of the attacks are automated attacks. When you are, for example, this is another example, most of the times that you are hearing about an internet attack, especially on the newspaper, they are speaking about the DDoS attack, okay? When you see someone, who is the cyber criminal in the world? It's anonymous, no? But anonymous, if you see how many cases, not anonymous cases, but cases of activism we had in our chart, it's really an extremely low part, okay, of it. So all the phenomena of anonymous, it's an extremely, extremely low part. Most of the attacks are done by cyber criminals who have nothing to do with activism, with ethic, or these kind of things. They want to steal money. That's all. want to steal money, they want to perform DDoS attacks, to ask money from the company, etc. So when are we speaking about malware, what are we speaking about? Not the virus who just pop-ups a window with a nice woman on your computer. That could be nice, but it's not happening anymore. Actually, the malware is no more this kind of malware who just show banners, nice girls on your screen. It's no more a good excuse, you know, when you're watching porn and your mother comes and you say, oh no, sorry, it's a malware that, no. You cannot say that anymore, I'm sorry. Most of them, they just hide. They like to hide in your computer because they have to exploit your computer to do things. To steal your money, to steal someone else's money, to perform attacks, etc. Your computer, it's a vector of attack, okay? And I'm using the wrong word because I'm using the word computer. But in the actual world, in the contemporary world, we have a lot of devices who are connected to internet. And there is no difference between a normal computer, like the one who runs Windows or Mac OS, etc., and a mobile phone. iOS, for example, it's a simplified version of Mac OS, but it's exactly the same operative system. So it's like a computer in your pocket. But it's also the same about all the intelligent and smart objects connected to the internet. Most of them, they have a simplified version of Linux, for example, okay? But it's so simplified that usually you don't patch it. And if you don't patch a software, and every software has a vulnerability, that software and that device can be attacked. What is the new trend? In 2015 and 2016 has been the year of the ransomware. What is it, a ransomware? Some of you may know what is it. It's the new trend. How does it work? They just send you this malware via email or via, you go to a website and you get compromised. And some of the data in your computer, some documents, get encrypted. Get encrypted with a military encryption. So it's an encryption that you cannot break. You cannot ask to your friend, hacker, oh, please de-encrypt, unencrypt my file, etc. They are encrypted, and the criminals ask for money to give you the password to decrypt the file. Okay? They are not asking. Here is the smart thing. They are not asking for a lot of money because they are working on masses of people. So they are asking you something like in euro. Usually they ask for Bitcoin, which is a virtual currency, but it's the equivalent of something like between 400 and 600 euro. Okay, it's not a lot. It's not a lot. It's not a lot if you are, for example, writing a thesis. No. You're writing a thesis, it's like 3 days to the thesis, you're going to print it, and it gets encrypted. What do? I would pay, probably. No? And think if you are a company, okay? You are a little company, and the database of your customer, it gets encrypted too, with all the contacts, etc. What is it? 600 euro for a company. It's like nothing. They will pay, for sure. Okay, but you will say, oh, but I'm smart, I have a backup. Sure, but it will encrypt also the backup, okay, of your files. So it's the new trend, and still, if you think about someone who is writing the ransomware, you're thinking wrong, because there is people who are writing the framework, okay, to write the ransomware. What does it mean? That basically you buy a service of ransomware. So this kind of people, the people who is on the highest level of the pyramid. They're writing this framework. You're buying a service of ransomware. You will send it to your customer, to your victims, and they will take a percentage of the money that you will make out from this ransomware. Okay. This is numbers of the malwares that we detected just on the fast web network, okay, per month. If you look at the numbers, okay, we did a better job, no, from the beginning of the year. But we are speaking in January about something like 350,000 malware. And I'm speaking just about the fast web network, okay? Those are the family of the malware that we detected. It's still like every family, it's like 100,000 devices. What about DDoS attacks? How many there are DDoS attacks? Okay, in 2013, there were around 1,000. In 2014, there were like 60,000 attacks, so it's like more than 10 times more. And in 2015, almost the same. It's a lot of attacks. How do they work? Basically, they have a network of devices who are compromised. And with this network of devices, that can be your mobile phone, can be your computer, can be your fridge tomorrow, okay? Who knows? Every kind of smart object that you have at home can be compromised and used to make these DDoS attacks. They just send such a massive data to a target that this target cannot answer anymore, cannot work anymore, okay? Sometimes they do it in a more intelligent way, creating some kind of queries to this computer, some kind of packets that make the computation difficult, but most of the times, they just need to send such a massive data that it will just, let's say, overflow your data bandwidth. Okay, let's say that you have a fast web connection at home, okay, with fiber, with optic fiber. You will have a download of 100 megabit, okay? I create an attack and I send you an attack which is more than 100 megabit of attack. Your line is no more usable, okay? Because I got all your line overflow with all these packets, okay? It's a very simple attack. You don't need to be skillful, and you can buy services, okay? You just buy a service of DDoS attacks, 24 hours of DDoS attacks. The last time I saw it was costing something like $50, okay? Imagine what is it for a company who is doing, I don't know, like e-commerce, staying down for 24 hours, okay? This is the kind of war that we are fighting. From one side, there is someone who doesn't need the skill, doesn't need any money, I mean, like $50 for 24 hours. And on the other side, you need massive technologies to defend from these kind of attacks. Who is a victim of DDoS attacks? Because most of the time, as I was saying to you, when we are reading about DDoS attacks, most of the time it's government, okay? It's the ministry of something who is attacked. Anonymous beat down the, I don't know, ministry of, I don't know, of sviluppo economico, of, I don't know, any kind of ministry. Actually, the DDoS attacks break into government just in the 16% of the cases, Okay, most of the attacks, 64%, so 3 out of 4, they are against private companies. Why? Because they are driven by the money. They will send a DDoS attacks, they will attack, and then they will speak with the victim and ask them money to do something, to stop. Or that sometimes they are asking for something else. I can tell you after this conference. Are very nice and fun events. Where are they coming from? Well, where are they coming from? It's extremely difficult to know, because the only thing you can rely on is the IP addresses. But of course, if I break into a computer in China and then I attack from China, United States will think that China are the attackers. So what we saw is that the biggest percentage of botnet, they have command and control, who are the server who are trying to control and command the devices, are in the US. Most of them, they are on very shitty providers, okay, who doesn't care. They buy virtual server for like nothing, and from this server, they are controlling all the botnet. When we are speaking about DDoS attacks, how many megabit are we talking about? So we are not talking about megabit, we are talking about gigabit of data. The minimum attack I saw, I think it was like 900 megabit. The maximum I saw was last year, was 140 gigabit of traffic. Just to let you have an idea, 140 gigabit at that time was the peak of traffic of all the Italian traffic to the rest of the world during a work day. Okay, the peak was 130. And this customer had an attack of 140. Okay, it's like all the traffic that Italy can generate to all around the world in one moment was coming to his line. I don't know what he did, but he did the wrong thing to the wrong person. That I'm sure of it. You can understand that with this kind of attacks, those are just the peaks, it's kind of impossible to defend if you don't have a defense which is on the provider or on a service which is not at home, okay, on your premises. We're speaking about 2, 6 gigabit, etc. The customer in Italy, the fastweb customer, who have a 10 gigabit line, I think they are, yeah, we can count them on 2 hands, okay? So if you have less bandwidth than this, the attacks is going to put you down. Another important data that we started to collect this year is voice over IP attacks. So frauds that basically they break into asterisk, the centralino, come si dice? PBS, okay, PBX, yeah, okay. And they break into them, and they start to make phone calls to number outside of Italy. Those numbers are like the famous number 144, 144, 199, etc. Basically, they own this number outside of Italy. they break into our customer, and they start to make these phone calls to these numbers. Of course, from all the money spent from the company, they can get a very high percentage of this money from their number. In the 2014, there were not so much money stolen. We are speaking about 60,000 euro. In 2015, there was a peak, and they stole something like 450,000 euro just in phone calls. But who is attacked? I was personally, I was thinking that most of the attacks were going to the big government. I don't know, in my mind, they were the less, I don't know, the more prone to this kind of attacks. It's absolutely the contrary. Most of the customers who are attacked are the small customer. The small customer think that they can easily manage a VoIP infrastructure. They actually can't, because most of the time they take a local system integrator, they make it configure the VoIP infrastructure, and then 99% of the times the password is the default password. It's like, I don't know, asterisk, asterisk, administrator without password, or root without password, and that's mainly what do they exploit to make the frauds. Of course, we have some alerts. We immediately understand if the customer is making 1,000 euro of calls, I don't know, to Cuba or these kind of countries. But sometimes it's also difficult because you call the customer and the customer does not really understand, or if he understands then he is, oh, okay, but I have to ask, I have to know, I have blah, blah, blah. And as a provider, it's even difficult to block these kind of calls. Why? Because it's a kind of censorship, okay? It's not possible to block by default, let's say, some communication. Because some customer can say, you are doing some censorship on my line. So, okay, it's a very difficult field we have to work on. So I explained how does it work. The number of fraud is, well, most of them are done on the new voice over IP infrastructure. Few of them are done in with the classic, let's say, infrastructure, which is called TDM. Most of the fraud on TDM, how are they done? They are done with wrong configuration. Like, for example, they are calling, you know that when you are in the company, you can press 0 and you can dial number outside of the company. Okay, if you don't dial 0, you can call internally, locally in the company. If you press 0, you go outside. Okay, sometimes they do a wrong configuration, and people who is from the outside, it's calling the number of the, I don't know, you know, the classic 800, 800 and something, the toll-free number. They're pressing 0, and they can make calls outside of the company. What was really scaring to me in these statistics was not about the small, the medium, etc., but was one event in particular, which you can see in on the right, which was in the banking. So a bank has been attacked and frauded on the phone calls. That is very strange to me. Well, most of the frauds are done calling Cuba. I don't know why. I should, let's say, make a deep analysis to understand why they use Cuba in particular. Something in Bosnia, Ecuador, Tunisia, something. Others are little like Afghanistan, Latvia, etc. Almost nothing in European Union, almost nothing. And nothing in like Russia, that's nothing in China, no? We are used to think that these kind of countries, the cyber criminal from these kind of countries, are doing this kind of crimes, but they're not. So to conclude, just two questions who are very obvious, kind of obvious. Who are the new criminals and what are the new crimes? My answer is nothing. There are no new criminals and no new crimes. There are always the same criminals who are doing always the same things, like stealing money. But the only question is that they are using just different approaches. Something that is automating the attacks. They were using machines, and now they are using the internet. That's all. Thank you. Do you have question? Avete domande anche in italiano?
For a private user, is that sufficient? Is it enough to have antivirus?
Okay, I would say that there are three basic things that you should do to be 99% safe. Okay, you cannot be 100% safe. First is update all your devices, continuously update all your devices, all your software that you use to patch the vulnerabilities. Second is strong passwords. This is extremely important. And third is, of course, to have an antivirus and make it updated every time. If you do these three things, then you can be, you have a good security on your computer. You can be attacked anyway because there is no 100% security, okay? But if you do these three things, you make the attacker switch the target, because most of them, they want an easy target. They are not searching for a difficult target. They are searching for an easy target because they are working on the masses. They are working with people who have a password who is their name with their year of birth. I was doing penetration testing, which is not, unfortunately, it's not something related to porn as an activity. But I was trying to, I was paid to hack into servers, into computers of the companies, to explain them what were the vulnerabilities. And 99% of the times I was guessing the passwords. Okay, I was not exploiting difficult and extremely difficult vulnerabilities. In Rome, half of the population is using Forza Totti as a, as a password. I don't know.
Dangerous to browse the deep web. Dangerous to browse the deep web.
It's dangerous to browse the deep web. For sure, a fourth recommendation that I should say is you should not visit unknown website. I know it's a very it's a very difficult thing because you are, I mean, if you're looking for something on Google, you're going for sure on a new website that you don't know, okay? But unknown website and website who can be used by malicious administrator should be avoided because they could contain some program to exploit the vulnerability of your browser. Okay, so when you are going to this web page, they can exploit a vulnerability of Firefox, of Chrome, etc., and try to infect even with antivirus. But as I told you, if it's updated, it will be more difficult because they will have to use a vulnerability that is not already known by the antivirus company. Okay, so it's kind of difficult that they will try to break into your computer as a normal user using such a vulnerability with who cost a lot of money because there is a market of new vulnerabilities. Okay, so any other question? Altre domande? Sì.
Semplicemente volevo dire che questi suggerimenti sono, come giustamente diceva Davide, validi per, secondo noi, almeno il 99,9% degli utenti. Chiedetevi anche se le vostre attività in qualche modo vi rendano bersaglio di entità che sono disposte a spendere il denaro che costano alcuni tipi di attacchi e le informazioni che trattate o le informazioni di cui siete in possesso e così via.
Yeah, if you are Edward Snowden, no, okay, and your adversary is the NSA, what Snowden was saying was, I know that I will be hacked one day. I know, because he's the, the highest target in the world that they can have, and he's a singular person against an entity who has a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of skills.
Credit card website, payment.
Okay, this is a good question, but difficult to answer. At the SSL, okay, so when you see the lock, that is just telling you, in the best cases, is telling you that the communication between you and the entity you are paying, it's encrypted, the communication. So if someone is in the middle, he cannot intercept your credit card, okay? If the one who wants to steal your credit card hacked into the server, he can steal every credit card of every person who is paying, okay, first. Second, you should trust the entity on the other side. I mean, if you go on the dark web and you're buying drugs and you're paying with your private credit card, I don't think it's a good idea, okay? But if you go to Amazon and you buy something on Amazon with your credit card, I mean, when I speak to that's for sure more safe than going to a bar and paying with your credit card. That's more sure more safe. Because to steal your credit card, okay, you just need numbers on your credit card. So when you are in a restaurant and you pay with your credit card, I always follow my credit card, okay? I don't like when the waiter comes and take the credit card and goes somewhere. I follow. Because he can just make a photo of my credit card on the numbers of it, and they can buy things on internet without having, complex tools or these kind of things, cloning the credit card. They just need the numbers on it.
I had a credit organized maybe in that way.
Yeah.
Give a credit card to a restaurant, they copy it.
Yeah.
Not the website.
You just need the, you know, the numbers on.
Okay.
So
you have to follow the credit cards?
I always follow the credit card. When they say, okay, give me the credit card, I will go, no. Come here with the POS, and or I come to your place with the, that's, I don't, well, I know, maybe I'm paranoid, but yeah, I have a good company. Okay. Any other question?
Sì, ciao.
Ciao.
The vector attack, I was seeing the phone freaking,
Yeah.
about the VoIP. That is
Yeah.
very, very interesting. I've seen some years ago a case about it. And the main vector attack for that type of attack is still based on SSH, or it has changed on asterisk, and or is more elaborated now? Are we talking about little servers with asterisk on it, or we are talking about more evolved infrastructure like Cisco or something like that?
It's a kind of difficult answer, because not usually, the VoIP infrastructure is not managed by Fastweb, but it's managed by the customer. So I see the fraud, and then to have this information, I need to call the customer and try to interact and try to help him, and in exchange, I ask for the information, okay? That's what I have to do, but of course I cannot do that for every customer that get frauded, okay? But I can tell you that every time I was able to get this information was an asterisk server that was configured with a default password, every time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Altre domande? Va bene, grazie a tutti allora.